Welcome to another fun-packed, this one's fun-packed.
Fun-packed.
Fun-packed event advice. I'm Matt Allen of CrowdComms. I'm joined by Will Custard, the product director from CrowdComms. We're going to be talking about a topic, nobody's talking about this one at the minute. We're going to be the only people on the internet talking about this, Will.
What is it?
The title is Can we just get bloody real about AI in events?
Let's get real.
Can we get real?
Let's get real.
So let's strip this back as though we're starting at the beginning to help people that perhaps don't know what AI is.
Just landed.
Just landed. Haven't been here for the last, I was going to say 10 years, but realistically 4 or 5 massively accelerated years. What is AI?
What is AI?
Yeah, I mean, this just...
Okay. Internet robots.
Yeah.
It's not internet robots. So it's obviously large language models. So it's very, very fast processing of information. I've heard it said that actually a lot of the AI out there at the moment is just very, very fast at processing that information.
So it's at the minute, it's things that make processes more efficient or gathering information more efficient and reliable.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of it is, I mean, there are some very, very intelligent systems out there, obviously. You know, we're speaking to AWS about facial recognition and sentiment analysis, and it is very, very good at crunching large amounts of data in one go at one time, either turning them into sort of alphanumeric things that we can use in code to spit out information, or just giving you back natural language answers as well. So just talking to you, two-way conversation. So there's lots of films out there about it, but just, you know, I'm trying to talk to someone as if they do not know at all what AI is. Have you seen the Joaquin Phoenix film?
Which one?
Her. I think it's called Her.
No.
She's like a AI that lives in a machine, talks to him all the time. I think he falls in love with her, goes a bit dark, she goes a bit bad.
Yeah.
So just imagine an internet robot controlling your, just being able to talk to you like a normal human being.
Terrifying. So when I talk to my parents about it, they do use the word, they're terrified of it. They're absolutely terrified of it. And I try and say that, chill out a little bit. Because when I look at the application of AI, it's not, where it is now is not as terrifying as where I think it could possibly go.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to take longer before it's really terrifying. So my point is, I think we've got a few years where it's really, really useful at least, and we can massively benefit before it becomes too terrifying.
Well, I think just on that note, I think probably there is a darker side to the internet, to the web.
Yeah.
That I think will
leverage
exploit
those tools.
Exploit it.
Oh,
you know, deep fakes.
Yeah.
And you know, actually using I'm still a bit wary about uploading photographs of myself into AI generators. I know there's a lot of tools out there that can give you an AI version of yourself to create content,
but where's
create
that
videos.
Going? Where's it being used? How could it be used?
Exactly. It's there is a worrying side to it, and I think there is a bit of a Hollywood element to that anyway, which is a lot of those films that do contain AI are about robots taking over.
But we're
AI
using it every day, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I struggle to keep on track, which is why I have these cards. And I use AI Fireflies to take notes during my meetings, create those action points, make sure that I can go back at the end of a meeting. I do a review at the end of each day of those meetings. Notes get sent to my Slack, so I've got them there as well as having to go into Fireflies to help me day to day with business efficiency.
Yep.
In our platform, we're using it and have used it for years for translations.
Captions, translations, all the developers use it as co-pilots to help them code. That makes us more efficient. I use it for my design work. A lot of the output is a little bit ropey, but there are lots of different AI services out there that are getting better and better and better. You know, a lot of people think it's going to take over from that point of view. If you want a logo, for example, you can just pretty much find yourself a logo nowadays. Just whack all the information into AI.
You can, but I've tried doing it. I've not managed to generate something I'm really happy with.
Yeah, the hype around it is far, far greater than the actual output that you get.
When I look at it, there's always something lacking a bit, because it doesn't know the genuine heart and soul of a business, or there's always something that isn't quite spot on.
It will never be able to replace that.
I always think, actually, one of the points here is talk about cases where you don't want to use it. For me, a logo should be something that we think about and we follow a process and we trust in someone who's got 20 years of experience of going through really understanding a brand and its values and its mission and its clients and what it needs to resonate, what it needs to communicate, and going through a more traditional process. I think that's one of those where I'd like to see it remain.
I think, sorry to jump in, I think there is an element of normal people not understanding that the prompt is so important.
Yeah.
So there are companies out there that specialize in prompt engineering. So if you are trying to get to a lot of AI services services built on top of AI actually are all about the prompt that gets the information out of the AI that you want. So recommendation engines, for example, are not necessarily just about plug in a recommendation engine and chuck it a load of content. There has to be some prompt engineering in between that gives you back the thing that you need to present to the user.
Yeah, that's a skill in itself.
Absolutely, that's the skill, really.
Yeah.
So I guess longer term we might find actually software engineers are replaced by prompt engineers rather than necessarily them building it, hand building it. Like let's say I was a creative director, you could say, actually, throughout my career working with designers in my teams, what I'm doing is prompt engineering them.
Yeah.
So if they are the agents, they are the AI agents, I want them to be creative, but I would bring my expertise to it by slowly prompting little bits to bring the design to a point where I was like, yes,
Talking
that's
about
perfect.
those scary robots, basically you have a shadow. It's like Hogwarts with their animal, isn't it? You have a little scary robot on your shoulder and they're there. They watch every meeting you do. They watch every piece of work. They watch you absorb information from everyone. They retain it, they use it, and therefore they can then create output without you.
Yeah. But I've heard a lot of people say, I want AI to do the boring things in my life so I can be the creative, so I can do the joyous,
Is that
creative
creative
things.
people wanting to make sure that creative people can
They're
keep
trying to keep
charging
hold of their
creative
jobs.
fees?
But, I would...
Don't disagree with that. I was just playing devil's
I would
advocate.
rather have, I like AI to an extent, but, if a mechanical... I would rather have robots in my house than AI, I think. As a creative person who wants to paint and draw and design things and do,
The way my daughter gets back from school some days, and literally I say, "How was your day, darling?" Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Would you like any dinner? Yes. And then I might as well have a robot.
Yeah,
I'm not getting any more.
Yeah, I've got 4 robots, grumpy robots.
I think the other thing, I was just on a call with a client, and they specifically said, we were talking about live chat, is that just AI? I said, no.
Yeah.
That is where you are based. That is Chris and James, and they are absolutely humans.
Yeah.
Good humans.
That's going to be a differentiator. So many chatbots and recommendation engines and AI co-pilots and all of this stuff is not giving you the results that you actually want. And it just causes frustration.
You loop round and round and round and round.
As soon as I go on one of those chat systems and I see the first response, I'm just waiting. My first prompt is basically, can you put me through to a human?
Did you get what you need? No.
Yeah, exactly. And actually what it means is when you've got live human support, that is a big differentiator.
Yeah, well, I'm determined to stick to that.
So
I was going to monitor how good AI is.
If you were going to an event and you landed at the event and the event app said, "Oh, here's an AI co-pilot to take you through the event. We're going to recommend you sessions. We're going to matchmake you with all these different people." Is that long term, I wonder if that's better than a concierge service with a human you can go and speak to and a help desk and all of these things.
We talked about the other day, someone who knows me and you is much better at partnering me and you than anything else that can happen with technology, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I like the idea of technology making my decisions easier, okay? So I want to see who's there, I want to see what's on, and I want to make informed decisions of what I do.
Yeah.
If there is something that can say, check out these people, check out these things, and it streamlines it, I'm all for that. But I desperately want to be able to make my decisions.
Yeah.
I don't like being told what I'm watching and who I'm meeting. I really still genuinely believe I want to look through it. And I'm a bit torn because I know we've got the meeting matcher which will do that, and it's got the recommendation engines. I love just filtering through an attendee list and seeing who's there. I really like going to my sponsors and seeing all of them and then just saying, okay, I only want to see sponsors that do event apps and looking at them. I quite like that process.
Yeah.
But I think our responsibility is to try and cater for different people who have different kind of expectations and requirements, which is why we keep developing the AI-based technology that we are doing.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's sensible, but if you're not helpful in your hour of need, it can be, look, you can be as great at suggesting things as possible. If something goes wrong and I can't find my exhibitor, I need to change my meeting, or I need to actually do something, that you know what, if you're not actually helpful in that moment, then you are all really useless.
Yeah.
To be honest, because you're just going to cause a load of frustration. You're not going to be used again. And they're actually just going to think, do you know what, forget your recommendations. You couldn't help me when I needed help. I'm going to go and find a human and talk to them.
Yeah. I mean, this slide actually is covering everything we've just talked about: simplifying tasks, automating, content personalization, and then choosing sessions, making recommendations. I think we've covered that off without even realizing.
It's because I put it all into an AI engine earlier, and it's just pumping it into my
pumping into your brain. Right, next slide. It's not a slide. It's a prompt. Challenges, misconceptions, and risks of AI in events. This sounds terrifying. So I suppose, say we're an event technology company, we've got our matchmaking, but we want to bias who sees who. So could we as organisers, are we in a scenario where an organiser says, no, actually, we really want to bias who meets who in this, and so yes, you can use the algorithm, but we don't want these people meeting these people. That's quite dangerous, isn't it? That's because you're manipulating outcomes. It's
a bit underhand, yeah. And you know, we are building if this then that rules around matchmaking.
We have to.
So because there are going to be certain people you want to meet with certain groups, and the intention is always good. There is always going to be a few people. The thing is if people start to notice it, if delegates start to notice it, then the trust is gone, and then all of a sudden they're not going to engage in the event in the same way. They're not going to use the AI tools in the same way. They might not even use the app.
Yeah.
They might just shut it down and say, do you know what? I think you're trying to manipulate what's happening. I really wanted to meet that person at this event, and I know he's here, she, he, whatever, and you're not allowing me to matchmake with him. Why is that?
Yeah.
And it could just cause a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Same with sessions, you know, and I'll talk about this a bit later, because I actually think some of the recommendation engine stuff that we've got and knowing something about your audience can be really powerful for the organizer to plan the event. You know, if you are not acting on that, you know, you knew that you had 300 people coming to this session, or this session was probably going to be recommended to 300 people in your audience because that is what they're really here to be interested in.
Yeah.
And you put it in a room with 50 seats or 100 seats.
Yeah.
The capacity was wrong.
That'd be
You've
silly.
got another talk over there that's half empty, and you know, you could have moved it. So I think it is going to expose potentially, for all the positives. I know the question was about the risks and the negatives, so I'm being a bit negative. It could expose some of the things that you're doing.
So for me, the risk isn't in our part of the experience. For me, as someone who's a bit old-fashioned when it comes to this, the risk isn't us looking at someone and saying, watch this session so much. The risk isn't so much saying, meet with these people. I like the flexibility of doing it. The risk is the quality of content and the lack of genuinely informed professionals delivering that content.
Yep.
So delivering something that you know because you've been used AI to create it is very different from delivering something that you really understand. And my problem with AI, I think, is more it's treated as a vehicle to enable ill-informed people to be an authority in something. And I still feel you should have to earn an authority in something through genuinely understanding it. Teaching is a really interesting profession, okay? And teachers are people who can help someone understand something. I'm a bit old school. I quite like the idea of a nuclear physicist coming in and teaching science because he understands the application of science, physics, maths, and the teaching element of it. And AI for me is just like, Matt, could you do a discussion on so-and-so, chuck it into AI and it will create me something, and then I just deliver it. I don't deliver it with any authority. I'm just delivering it as someone who can deliver content. That undermines it a bit. That I think is more of a risk.
If that's what you're doing as a speaker on the circuit,
Do you think people do? Well, I mean, I know they do.
you are living on borrowed time,
Yeah,
because eventually, get the AI to present it.
yeah,
Put a screen up with a person, particularly if it's a virtual content. There is already lots of services out there to take information and present it in a different way. So present it as a podcast. There's loads of services that, give me a podcast on this thing, and it will. And you choose the voices. You can say American, English, whatever, any language you want. Give me a podcast in this style because I like this humorous style, and teach me this thing.
Are you suggesting that a younger, taller, more handsome hologram than myself, without the grey hair, and a longer torso?
It could be a hologram of you. It could be your. So we haven't talked about holograms. That's something slightly different.
I know.
But if a hologram was presenting the AI content, the content, pushed through some sort of AI, so it was a far more interesting talk than, the dry talk that you might get from an employee or a professor or whoever you've got on stage who might be a bit nervous, who is a human being. The AI can have lots of charisma. If you at some point, ABBA have done it, you can get a hologram of someone stood on the stage walking around.
So whenever I see at events now, and I see the kind of, years ago when I used to do lots of the on-site piece, there would often be the AI robots, and they'd look round and look down at you and say, "Hello, Matt," and you'd look at them and you'd just be bloody terrified because they were freaky as hell. Even now, when I went to a big AI, I think I might have been to it with you actually. I was in Vegas and I went to one, and it turns around and talks to the audience and things.
Oh yeah.
Flipping terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I really didn't like it. I really didn't enjoy it. I didn't find it a pleasant experience.
No. I guess we'll get. I mean, we're not quite the right generation, but it's going to scare us.
Yeah.
It might not scare our children.
I don't think I'm quite ready to not be the right generation. I don't think I'm not quite there yet.
We're going to be that. We're going to be. Keep it away from me.
Stop it.
Keep it away.
This
from
makes me feel uncomfortable.
Although by the time we're in our nursing homes,
yeah,
there might be all sorts of wonderful technology. Sponge baths,
just rolling me
all
over.
sorts, moving you, bed sores,
bucket thrown in my face.
Exactly.
Fabulous. Wallace and Gromit.
Exactly.
Up to
again, more about robotics than necessarily AI. But you might have a really nice an AI nurse to speak to. Company, loneliness.
Oh,
loneliness is a big thing for the older generation.
There's adverts in New Zealand that make you, because in New Zealand they do adverts which are just so much more in your face than we do here. Yeah. And the loneliness and the looking after the elderly, like road accidents, children, I mean, I can't watch them, but yeah, loneliness is, but that's, I mean, that's fantastic if we can use it in that capacity.
100%, 100%.
Can we
But
just,
then, you know, I guess there are dangers. Alleviating using AI to alleviate loneliness for the older generation, or us as we get a little bit lonelier and get less and less friends as we get older,
I haven't got many to start with now, so.
is potentially socially dangerous for the younger generation, because we don't necessarily want them to grow up with their friends being AI agents.
No.
You know, we want them to have genuine, real connections, genuine human relationships, and events are brilliant at doing that, and we wouldn't want our children to be forming those sorts of relationships. So.
But to an extent, they don't form relationships anyway. Now it's very different. So many.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Not all,
they are
but
separate.
So many they're different than.
They're together alone.
Well, we were just catching up with all of our mates anytime we could.
Yeah. We were together literally all the time.
Whereas I hear Rosie on her phone with her mates. We would have been out.
Yeah.
In the village.
Yeah. I mean, this makes us sound incredibly old, but it was better back in our day.
It was cycling over to Stourbridge.
No mobile phones.
The metropolis that is Stourbridge.
You on the landline.
Right, let's finish off with what's next for AI at CrowdComms. So, do you want to just cover a couple of things we're doing?
Yeah, I can cover some bits.
Yeah.
So lots is the answer. Obviously, this. I know there was a lot of talks about AI at all the events last year. Very, very hot topic, obviously. Everyone talking about it, not a lot of proof that anyone's really using it.
No one's showing anything they were doing.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot out, but I think this year there will be lots that come out.
Good.
So it's the same with us. We had projects that we'd already planned in for the year. We were road mapping towards getting our AI tools underway. We are well and truly underway with them now. Mm-hmm. So we're obviously going to start with the most obvious things. The planning tools, the matchmaking, the recommendation engines, session, exhibitors, meetings, all of those things. Swapping business cards, making connections, just speeding that up a little bit for both the organisers and the delegates. And then obviously we're talking about analytics and being able to crunch that data, because that is where it's really, really useful. You can spend ages and ages building dashboards to try and suit the information that we think everyone's going to want, but there is a better route to it in using natural language to look through that data and give you something back, could be visual, could be a CSV, could be whatever you need it to be, it can be.
Yeah.
So there are things like that. There are some really exciting projects, slightly longer term, about sentiment analysis, about sustainability, actually calculating events, things like that. I want to do some things with planning tools for organisers. So that's kind of just the extension of the matchmaking, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
If and this is the bit I was talking about earlier, if you've got your audience in and you've built their profiles up ahead of time, or you are moving them from one event to another event and marketing to them, are you going to attend? And once they've registered, you can use that data. Then you can actually use that as a really good planning tool ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So what those people are like, what they like, what their professions are, what they were trying to get out of the last event, or you might know what they're trying to get out of this event through your registration. There could be lots of things. And you could actually, if you hold back your content long enough, or you've got your speaker submissions in, and you're just trying to plan your event a little bit, but you have the audience data, then you can start to really put those two things together. And rather than, you're obviously going to use your expertise and you're going to plan your event based on what you know, but AI can also help you to crunch all that information and say, okay, you seem to have a speaker submission on AI.
Yeah.
We think lots of your audience are going to be interested in AI. You've only got one speaker submission on AI. Perhaps you want to think about going out, find some more.
Yeah.
Or you've got lots. We suggest you put this in the biggest room possible. Or we think your audience for this event, this particular talk, might be 150 people. So you could put it on twice. and split those audiences. So there's loads you could do with the power of knowing the knowledge, having the knowledge in front of you.
Information,
it's the key.
data, information is the key to making informed decisions.
Informed decisions, that's it. And AI can totally help you do that. And then, like, even longer term, you know, I really want to get some sizzle reels going where we're getting some sentiment analysis and facial recognition and making sure that we are spitting out videos with music and things like that. But I don't want to give away too much. I don't want to give away too much on the roadmap.
Look, I'm hopeful that that's helped people or navigated AI a little bit.
Confused
some
a lot of people,
hopefully
potentially.
not. I'm
Scared the older generation.
by it because I don't know. I just go from loving it to being uncertain.
I think we're in that stage now.
I do this. I absolutely know it's not going anywhere. I absolutely know it's going to be a key component. I know that we want to use it and leverage it day to day and within our technology, throughout our technology. But that doesn't mean that I always feel fluffy about it.
I think the problem for me, right, is like garbage in, garbage out. So you don't give it any information, it's not going to be very useful to you.
Yeah.
But giving it lots of information, I know there's obviously lots of rules around it. There's lots of, you know, they don't retain the information. It doesn't train, you know, they claim it doesn't go and train what you put in. It doesn't go and train the AI even more. There's a bit of a worry, particularly the amount of services. If you look through the App Store for AI,
oh, it's mental.
There is so many tools, which you just do not know which ones are going to be, you know, genuinely careful with your data and which ones aren't. So, look, I think it's an exciting time. It's a bit of a worrying time, and we'll see what happens. Maybe
we do a future session on looking at the tools that we believe are fit for purpose for different roles within the events industry.
Yeah, I mean, the photo booth stuff, I've seen I've been part of the photo. I mean, I've got a card at home with me as a policeman and me as a Viking and all sorts of things, which don't look quite like me, but look like an AI version of me.
Better.
Much better version.
Much better
version. And they're not my personal photos, me dressed up as policemen and Vikings.
Yeah, they're your wife's.
That would be crazy. But yeah, those tools are fun and engaging for a moment, maybe.
Yeah.
And a nice little takeaway. Whether they're sticky, whether it's going to stay with you for a long time, who knows?
We shall see.
Loads.
Thanks for watching. If you haven't done, subscribe below, and that way you won't be able to get rid of us, because whenever we do a video, you'll be notified. Drop some comments and things below that you'd like to see us do in future sessions. But for myself and Will, we will see you soon. Bye-bye.